Hey everybody, welcome to Microsoft Rewind, your one-stop place to get all your Microsoft updates from the last 30 days. Welcome to our July edition. My name's Chris Dreer. Let's get into it. Okay, so if you head on over to mondocloud.co.uk, if you prefer to read your blogs, then if you head over to our blog section, that's where you'll find it alongside any of the blogs that we've written over the past, however long it's been. Okay, so let's start. We've got another fun and exciting month packed full of updates from Microsoft Copilot 365, Windows, Teams, Security Administration, and Microsoft Intune. So let us get started with Copilot. Okay, so Copilot have introduced some easier ways to work with big files. Previously, there were some smaller limitations on how many files you can ask Copilot to work with at once, and the size of those files. So Microsoft have made some changes. You can now attach really large documents up to 3,000 pages, and obviously you can just attach that with a reference file with a quick slash, such as annual report doc 2025, whatever it may be, and Copilot's going to do that heavy lifting. This is going to be perfect for probably people in the legal sector, big contracts, that kind of thing, who are getting hit by those limitations. I know when I spoke to someone at an expo a short while ago, they were a bit frustrated that they were getting hit with page limitations and word limitations. So hopefully this will be a welcome update to them. Moving on to Copilot Chat, whether that's web chat or inside the Copilot app itself. So Microsoft's going to start organizing your queries into categories. So we're looking at ask and find. So that's going to be looking for when you're searching. It's going to organize things by catch up. So summarization, meetings and threads. And it's also going to be doing draft and brainstorm. So creating content, wherever it may be. Some improved meeting caps. So you're going to see better summaries of your team's meetings, clearer highlights of what's been said, action points and who needs to do what. And also it's going to be one of the features that I've been really trying to get used to using, and it's taken a little bit to get used to, is dictating to Copilot Chat, whether that's in Windows and web, just taking advantage of my microphone to talk freely into Copilot and having that then go off and doing what I want it to do. It feels a little bit weird at first, but actually once you get into it, it becomes a much smoother way of trying to describe what it is you're looking for, and sometimes it is just easier to speak your mind rather than type it out. So honestly, I really recommend it, and I can see that whole hey Copilot sort of thing coming in the near future if if you're not already sort of taking advantage of that way of working. Moving on to M365 Copilot, so your experiences inside your Office apps. In Outlook, they've made some changes to make Copilot more stable when using add-ins or switching mailboxes, so it's not going to crash between calendar and inbox as much anymore. In Word, some small fixing around bullet point formatting, smarter behaviour in comments, and the big one for me is preserving formatting across drafted content. Nothing worse than having Copilot draft you a bit of work and you go, actually, yeah, let's chuck that in, see what we can do with it, and then your formatting's thrown all over the place and you've got to spend 5 minutes fixing it. In PowerPoint, Copilot will be more reliable when helping with designs and text, as well as being able to reference multiple files. Now this is a key one, because previously you could just give it a file to reference when you're trying to create or draft first draft of a presentation. Being able to give it multiple sources of context now is going to be really useful to try and really get that first iteration of a presentation off the ground, as well as having it fully branded and context on point. Inside Excel, Copilot can now generate formulators by natural language. No need to remember that complex syntax. Plus, it can analyze text in your spreadsheet to highlight key things, sentiment, and helpful labels. So it might be useful for the Excel people out there. Obviously, behind the scenes, Copilot's getting smarter. Inside the administration center, really, the M365 admins out there that are addressing and using Copilot, I suggest you start looking at the analytics that are in there so you can start seeing the business data, working out who's getting the most out of their Copilot licensing, what that return looks like, so then you can obviously start replaying that to the powers that be, because obviously people want to know that they're getting the most out of the solutions that they're paying for. Perfect. So moving on to Microsoft Teams. Now this is something I'm really excited about actually. Microsoft Teams workflows. I'll be honest, I didn't know much about it before I started reading up it earlier this month, and I completely missed what it used to look like and what it may be. But it's certainly something I'm going to start playing around with this week. So they're doing a revamp of what's called Microsoft Teams Workflows, which is an app you can add inside Teams. Now, for those that are familiar with Power Automate, it's going to feel a little bit like Power Automate, but it's going to help people basically streamline repetitive business tasks that they're doing inside Teams, SharePoint, whatever it may be, and obviously describing these actions using natural language and AI. So if we look at a couple of examples here, you can create flows. So let's just say you want to say, hey, notify me in Teams when a new file is added to the HR SharePoint folder. Teams will obviously then propose a flow that does that, no code required, and then you can go off and set that up. I'm going to try and find a couple of hours in the next week or two to do a bit of a demonstration on some of the useful things in here, because I think there's loads of little time savers. Those 30-second switching between Teams, chat, dragging files here, there, another. And if you could do 3 or 4 of them, and you find yourself an extra 10, 15, 20 minutes a day, and before you know it, you could have several different workflows in here that are just streamlining all the silly little things that you used to do. So yeah, I'm going to try and spend a bit of time and create a video on that. But aside from that, they've redesigned the template library for speed, quick searching, customized popular workflows, different approval processes, notifications on task creations, syncing scenarios. Hopefully it's going to be a lot more faster and intuitive, and hopefully I'll be able to showcase that on the video that I do. Teams color accents, a little bit of a fluffy update. So Microsoft, from the end of July and through to August, are letting users choose up to 10 different colors for desktops, web apps, and Mac clients. These colors appear in, like chat bubbles, app icons, activity indicators. Nothing special or fancy, but visually, some people might like that. So I thought it was worth a mention. Moving on to Windows 11. Windows 11 Quick Machine Recovery. So this is an interesting one. Now, we will all remember the CrowdStrike incident that happened just over a year ago, I think it was. Probably about a year probably about a year ago now, where there was an update released from Microsoft and there was an update from CrowdStrike, and basically the world went to pot. Airports shut down, businesses shut down for a short time, IT teams went into full sort of recovery mode, rebuilding machines, trying to find ways around it. To address this, Microsoft have developed something called Quick Machine Recovery. So this is basically, if your machine fails to boot for several attempts, it's going to automatically switch into your Windows recovery environment, then try and do a cloud remediation if enabled, essentially. So it's going to connect to the internet, upload the diagnostics, download any targeted updates from Microsoft, from Windows Update, and hopefully restore functionality. So it just shows that Microsoft have listened and obviously taken steps to help recover if anything like that ever happens in the future. Fingers crossed it doesn't. A quick note on Windows 11 25H2. The insider preview of that was made available back at the end of June. GA is set for the second half of 2025, sticking to those twice yearly big updates essentially. For most of you, if you're running regular patching, I don't think there's anything to worry about, but once 25H2 becomes GA, we'll look at some of the features and talk about it in a future coming blog. On to Microsoft Intune, everyone's favourite device management platform. LAPS for macOS. So LAPS stands for Microsoft's Local Administrative Password Solution. It's been around for a long time in Windows, and what it does is it allows you to deploy a dedicated local admin to the computer, because none of your users should be local admin. Hint, hint. It allows you to then generate a randomized password to that account. If you're using Intune for LAPS, you can then view that password via Intune only, and you can have policies around rotating that password if it's used or expired after so long. So it's a really cool solution for admins to randomize their local admin accounts, keep the passwords nice and secure. Obviously, it wasn't really a thing for Mac until now. So yeah, they've launched a solution for Mac OS, so Mac admins using Intune will be really happy. A couple of caveats: you've got to be using sort of a specific type of deployment for your Macs. You can't have manual enrollment; it's got to be via ABM and ADE. So just something to take note of. But yeah, really useful moving forward for those sort of larger Mac environments. Onto hot patching. So hot patching is a solution for applying security updates without a reboot. Now, pinch of salt, there's going to be always updates that require a reboot of those, but some security updates don't, and they can use Microsoft's hot patching feature. Microsoft have brought out an update to the 64-bit ARM processor, so you're thinking your Copilot Plus PCs that are running those Snapdragon processors. So yeah, it just allows people to have more maintained security, minimal disruption. As well as this, they've also released ARM device filtering inside Intune, which means you can target your apps, your configuration profiles to specific ARM-based devices. So I know people have an issue with apps trying to be deployed to ARM devices that aren't applicable and that kind of thing. So they'll be making it easier for people in the future. As well as this, Microsoft inside Intune have released custom device clear-up options. So inside Intune, you'd have policies that would basically say if a device hasn't checked in for, 60 days, then remove it from Intune. Obviously, that was a blanket, which isn't great. So let's just say you had a fleet of iOS devices. And let's just take a school, for example. Schools are on summer holidays. Let's just say they haven't got their iPads out for a wipe or whatever it may be. They've been enrolled. They've not been used for 60 days. We don't want them to remove necessarily, because that may then cause issues when they come back around to term time. Very loose example. For example, I'd assume they'll be wiping them during the break, but very loose example. Stay with me. But now we can create policies per flavor, essentially: Windows, iOS, iPad, macOS, Android, etc. So you can see the benefits of that. Moving on to 365 admin. Really cool one here. Token protection is now available inside your Entra ID P1 licenses. So obviously that includes things like Business Premium, E3, E5, and your Entra ID P1s, obviously natively as a license type. But firstly, what is token protection? So when you sign into 365 apps like your Outlook, Teams, OneDrive, whatever it may be, your device gets what's called a refresh token. That's going to let you stay signed in without entering a password every time, basically. But if someone malicious managed to steal that token via a phishing attack, malware, whatever it may be, they could potentially use that to access your account from somewhere else without needing your password. This is a really popular attack that's on the rise. I've seen quite a lot of it reported in the news and from various other sort of IT sources, so definitely something to be on top of. Obviously, token protection stops that by locking that refresh token to your specific device, essentially, so it won't work anywhere else. It's a digital key, only fits one lock, your own device, essentially. This was supposedly meant to be an Entra ID P2 licensing, which is a little bit beyond sort of your SMBs in terms of cost analysis, the risk, the cost, and weighing up where it may be. But no, now Microsoft put it inside the Entra ID P1 license, which means it should be vastly available to most people that are running Business Premium and above, which is a really great improvement. Okay, improved mail bombing detection. Inside your Microsoft Defender for Office 365, there is now an automatic detection and blocking of email bombing. So email bombing is an attack where a malicious actor will flood your email inbox with thousands of messages within minutes. That attack can then drop critical alerts into the noise or use the chaos to set up different scams, essentially. But now Microsoft's got some new detections in there that's going to detect when your inbox is being flooded. It's going to quietly filter those bulk emails into a junk folder. It's going to keep your important senders safe, and there's no setup required. Microsoft has just turned this on in the background, which is obviously a great thing for your Microsoft admins. Right, that's it for our episode of July Rewind. If any of these updates spark your curiosity, feel free to reach out, give me a shout, whatever it may be. We're here, here on LinkedIn, here on Teams, phone call, email, whatever it may be. So yeah, just reach out, and yeah, we'll see you next month. Cheers.